I'm Benjamin Hall, and I'm searching for heroes. Well, welcome back, everyone. Thank you for tuning in again. We have an incredible guest today, perhaps one of the most optimistic people that I have spoken to since I started this podcast. Her name is Shamayim Harris, but everyone calls her Mama Shu. She lives in Detroit and has had some tragedy occurred to her. Two of her children were murdered. Her stepson was also murdered. And that would have blighted many, many people's lives. But instead, she has stopped. And using her own saying, she has tried to turn grief into glory and has gone in to turn her community round, buying up over 40 different plots, building business centers, building education centers, building homes, and trying to give back to community where she saw the community was suffering. So it is remarkable to speak to her today, and she's an incredible, optimistic woman. We speak to her from her own front porch, so you will hear people walking past, and you will hear her saying hi to people, but that's what she says. She is a part of the community, and that's how she wants to live, and that's the most important thing to her. So thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll speak to you later. You know, I've been reading a lot about the work you've been doing for many, many years now, and a couple of things stand out to me. One is this message that you send. It's grief into glory. It's blight into beauty. You know, you have managed to turn around things, and you have found a way of turning bad things into good things. And I wonder, first of all, if you could just tell me about resilience, what you think that is.
Resilience. Wow. Resilience to me is basically sometimes being able to say just the hell with fear, just being able to still just press on no matter what. And then really being blessed to be able to have a vision that is so big and so all encompassing and all of that, to still be able to trek through it and know the value of it, of your vision, and know that it's still important. And, you got these bumps in the road that do happen, but that thing that you really, really want to do, that's a big deal too, and to still just be able to press on with that thing that you feel that you want to do for the world or your neighborhood or whatever it is that you want to do. If it's a passion deep down inside, then you're going to bounce back, because what you're doing and what you're dreaming is just as important.
But do you think that many people have that vision? I mean, you had that vision, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But
okay,
I don't know if most people have this grand, great vision about what they want to do in their lives. And I wonder if you think that's something that's missing in society.
I think so. I deal with folks who, and I talk to a lot of families and mamas and daddies who have lost their children. A lot of murder victims, unfortunately, like my son Chinyela was murdered. And I think that a lot of times, if they did have some parents, some people just flat out are probably not going to ever really deal with it well. And I've seen that too, to go on the whole other side of it. I mean, like deep depression and everything, and not really be able to find any inkling of wonderfulness out of maybe a tragedy or death of a loved one, or that thing that put them in depression. But I think that a lot of times, if you have a thing to work on, it's healing, whatever it is. You're probably going to have to find something like that to do in order to help you to heal and distract you, because the energy of grief and joy are kind of like, for me, it's not the same, but it's like one end of the pendulum. Like we say, pain into power, somehow that energy that you do have, that grief, it has to go somewhere. You got to do somewhere and be able to shift it. And I think some people need counseling, some people need different things to help pull that out of them. I think that sometimes those things being propel people into doing a thing like, whoa, this is like, it's an opening sometimes to do a thing that it is that you want to do, or to delve off into something. With me, I'll say that with my sons, and I've said this before, it's like that was the worst fear for me. And so now I move fearlessly through whatever it is that I do. It's just, it's exciting to move it because it's very liberating. The actual tragedy thing actually freed me from being afraid of anything else.
Wow. Yeah. I suppose I was going to get to this later on in the podcast, but we've come to it already. And that is that you said that there are some people who go through things which are terrible, and they go through depression. It's really terrible. And there are other people like yourselves who come through it and they are automatically filled with something that's positive and they find something good out of it. But where does that come from? Why do some people have that and other people don't? Is it nature? Is it nurture? Are you born with it? Are you taught it?
I think some of it is that you are born with it. And I think that it's sometimes maybe the environment and the people around you too that will help to bring that about. To be sometimes, and I've often thought too that I thought that I had maybe a healthy dose when the Creator was passing out, qualities and all of that. For the resilience part, I always thought that I had a little extra because it is a way that I look at life and death. I think that my children, for instance, they were here and they were here their time that they were here. They were here the 2 years, 1 month and 6 days. My other son was 23 years old. And I had to understand, but one thing that helps me, keeps me grounded is that I still believe that they are here. Their energy is here. Where can it go? It's part of me. I'm their mama. So I believe that they are still living and they are still living in here. And I believe that their energy is still about. I believe that I'm raising my children in the heavens. I didn't believe that it stopped right then and there after they were deceased.
That's amazing. And so I suppose then you still have a relationship with them, an ongoing relationship with them. And does that relationship then change and grow? Or how do you describe the relationship with them now?
Yeah, it does. It does change and it does grow. And my relationship, but the thing about it is I still think of them, the ages, for instance, that they were. But for instance, my son Jacoby, he was a musician. And had he been on the planet, he probably would have been a bad musician. But right now, his father, he's a DJ and an entertainer. And so my son was already doing the turntables. He was on doing the engineering, everything, but he was 2 years old. And I remember thinking like, this 2-year-old is actually doing this. It just was really strange looking to see a little kid that was so into that and so correct with all the buttons and everything and putting the music together and using the mixer and all of that. And so what has come out of that is that I've developed 8 years we've been doing the Sunboy Records music camp, and it's named after him. Our studios are Sunboy Records, and it's actually a logo of a little cute little brown boy on the turntables, and he has a halo around his head. But we do a music camp for approximately 25 children every summer to help to nurture their creativity and teach them instruments and so on. And so those type of things, that right there, to me, I've developed a park in Jacoby Ra's name where I married people, we entertained people and everything. So that was my baby that did stuff like that.
So his creativity, you have passed that on. The things that he had, you've given that to so many other people.
Yes, because where was it going to go? Like, his body is gone, but the energy is still there. You know what I'm saying? It's still circulating around. And so it's nowhere else for that to go. And plus, it's part of me. So Jacoby is part of me because that's my son. And so is Chinyelu. They are still my children in my eyes. And so being a parent, it just doesn't stop. It doesn't end with the actual physical death.
Yeah. Could we take a step back and could you tell us what happened to Jacoby? It was in 2007. And as you said, he was, you know, to the day how old he was. He was 2 years, just over 2 years old.
Yeah, he was 2 years old and he was walking across the street to a neighbor's house to go play here in Highland Park on Rhode Island Street. And I was at my business, my store, and which was just maybe 5 minutes away, walking right across the street on Woodward Avenue, a couple of blocks down. And so what happened was they were crossing the street and a car came and was racing down the street. and hit Chinyelu was holding Jacoby's hand. Chin was 10 at the time. And so he was going so fast, he kind of swiped the baby, Jacoby, out of Chin's hand. Anyway, his body flew, and it flew up under a street light. And so the street lights are gone now. I could talk about that later, but the street lights are gone now in Highland Park, period. But he died up under there. My daughter, that was 12 at the time, picked him up, and we took him to the hospital. My husband got him in the car, and we didn't wait on the ambulance, and we went to the hospital here in Detroit, and he basically he stopped breathing in the car on the way there. They put him to resuscitate him when they got him there, but he was already gone, and basically it would have been brain damage, and so we had to let him go that next day.
What does that? I imagine there are various stages of grief. There must be the initial stage straight away, and then does that? So I mean, what is the feeling straight away, and how does that change sort of as days, weeks, months, even years pass?
Well, initially, you're totally devastated, and I'll say this: it doesn't get better. It doesn't get better after 1 year. To me, it doesn't. It seems like it lifts up a little bit as the years go by. When I lost Jacoby, the time it was like 13 years later, and then I was just, the pain was still there, and but you live with it. It's you just got to manage it. It's what happens. The thing is there, and it's a thing that is irreversible, and that so first of all, you just got to submit to that whole idea, that this part right here is never going to change. So I just have to learn how to operate with it the best way I can in the most healthy way. That's the thing. But the first year to me is worse because it's all of the first things with that person. Their birthday passes, the holiday time. It's just all kinds of things. So for me, I think that it's worse. And then to me, the extreme pain, and this is just, people may think about it differently, but the extreme pain lasted for Jacoby, I'm going to say about 4 years, 4 or 5 years, like the extreme hard parts of it and stuff, almost where you well up with tears. And I still do when I speak of them, when I speak of him, and when I speak of just how I miss them, and I still celebrate them through birthdays and also the day that they died and everything too. We have big celebrations around here. But then not so, you don't like cry at the drop of a hat or all of this, things that it start to feel a little bit better, but it's always in the back of your head. It just never goes away. So then when he died, when he was killed, that was a long time. And then my other son who got murdered, and he was 23, he got killed in January the 26th, 2021. For me,
and he was walking with Jacoby when Jacoby was hit. So
when 10, yes, he was 10 years old when that happened. So then he is on security duty here at the village, and he gets ambushed, and somebody comes and they start shooting in his car. He was doing security, and they started shooting in his car, and he ended up running across Jacoby's park, right across the street, and then went to his friend's house, and he died in the doorway. And by the time I got there, he was already gone. The ambulance did come. They tried to resuscitate him, but he was already gone at that particular time when I got to him.
You're listening to Searching for Heroes. We'll be right back. And yet it was only 6 months after Jacoby died that you decided and you started to build Avalon Village. That was really soon after that happened. But you, at what point did you decide you wanted to do this, that you wanted to build something in his name, you wanted to create this community, and how could you do that so quickly?
So I'm going to say that my love for community and my community work actually started even before Jacoby was born. Growing up, I was the quote unquote community girl that did, volunteering and all of that. You have like some friends that do that, and some may be partying and doing other stuff, but I was kind of like that person on my block. I love to go help the neighbors, the elders, and everything. I love to go, hey, let's go do this. If a teenager, we had like a couple of my friends, we were teenagers at the time, but a couple of them got pregnant and everything. I'm like, let's do a community baby shower for them, like on the block. So that has always
Why?
been in me.
Why were you like that? Why did you have that?
So you know what? I guess, hey, I'm going to put it into my makeup. It's just, and then also, I just thought that I just love neighborhoods. To me, neighborhoods are the foundation of families. And when you're a kid and everything, this is like where you learn all of your stuff. And so now my work is to show that neighborhoods are important. We have the downtowns and everything, but if those neighborhoods are sick, if they're not working, if they're blighted and all of that, that means that all of the beginnings, to me, are just raggedy. Like who wants, it's just not in order for you, not in order.
And
like
you
don't have a
saw
fresh start.
You saw your community, which was in a great place some decades ago, and then Chrysler shut, the jobs lost, and so you saw the community both nosedive, and then now you want to lift it back up.
Yes, and that's exactly right. The very first entity that we built was the homework house, where at the time our schools was up under emergency management. That means that no kids were in the coming here to come to school. The thing about it is that when people want to live somewhere, they looking at the school system if they're trying to grow families, brand new families. So the first thing that we had to build in the village was the homework house, or an educational facility for the children. And so that's one of the very first things that I started with. And so when I lived on Rhode Island, I would see Avalon Street, blighted as I don't know what, just everything. It was a drug block. It was very notorious. I know some of the guys who did crime on the block, and they would tell me, hey, you know what this block used to be, this and that. They can't even believe the way that the block looks right now. But for me, it was being so dead and so just down in the ground. To me, it only could go up. That's what I saw. I saw a clean slate where everybody went and they want to move somewhere else, and I don't want to stay on that block no more because it looks like this, that, and the other. I'm like, I want to build what it is that I feel that we deserve, or I deserve as just a regular citizen. I want to put some of this stuff on this block. And it's a mixed use block too. Okay, let's go ahead and just put the things that we lack,
Yeah. You started off just by buying one house. That was it.
Yep.
And you paid $3,000.
Ben, you know the story. No.
Yeah. I mean, how did that happen? How did you find the house? How did you find the money?
So how did I found the house? I lived on Rhode Island. Remember I told you, and that's where we stayed at. And so I had a store and everything, but I would ride by my school job. I was a school administrator, and I would ride by and I would look at this block, first of all, how blighted and just ugly it looked. I'm like, man. And it didn't look like anybody else cared. Nobody else was even fixing up over here. So I'm like, I'm gonna get over here and come do this. So I would think about this, and I would actually dream and think about the things that I can actually put on there, Ben, when I'm just riding to work. And I would think about this house that I'm sitting on this porch right now. Okay. And I was like, wow. I said, I can move there, put my ministry there. I've been a minister for 23 years. And I'm put my ministry there, and we're going to go over there and fix up the block. I just used to say that over and over again as I'm driving. So one day, there was a dumpster poking out in the driveway. I'm riding to work and everything, and I see the dumpster poking out. I'm like, oh my goodness, no, they not selling that house. I turned down the corner, and yes, it was for sale. Saw the for sale sign stuck up in the window. Called, they wanted $5,500, and I didn't have $5,500, and I offered them $3,000 like I had that, and I didn't have that, but I knew that I was going to get that money as soon as I hung up that phone, and then so it was just a collective thing. My work check and an income tax check, a state income tax check, and then my friend from Chicago gave me $1,500, and she gave me, and we put that money together. And I had my $3,000 to close, and I stayed up in it, boarded up for about 2 years, and was just able to get little thing done at a time, and being able to fully okay, here is the house. Porch is redone now. new roof. We got a couple of little different things going on. And now I even still need some work because I'm going to put new gutters and all of that. So that's what I'm looking to do this spring. But yeah, that's how I saw this house. I saw what it could be. I saw the whole vision of what it is. It was enough space. It didn't look like anybody was caring about this particular part at the time. And I just made it my intentional. I was real intentional about it. And I said, I'm just going to go over there, and this is going to be the space that I helped to build up.
And that's how it began. But then since then, I mean, tell us what happened in the years after that, because Homework House, and then, Goddess Marketplace is something else you want to focus on, helping women, women with businesses as well. So you're trying to provide, first of all, Homework House, which is education, then Goddess Marketplace, which is business, and then Community Garden, which is sort of outdoors areas, greenery. So you kind of had an idea of all the things that a community needed, and you're bit by bit, you have been buying them up and putting them together.
That's right. So far we have our ownership spans from Avalon Village, ownership spans from corner to corner, going into the second block with a couple of other properties, but it's about 45 properties total. We own about 98% of our block. And yes, that is what I did bit by bit. But I'm going to tell you something else that I did too. As far as I thought about just a small city. What does it take to run a city? And what are the things that are needed in it? Well, you need economical growth. You need an educational system. You also need a health and wellness, in which we have the healing house and we have the greenhouse, all of that, the food security. We have the farms. We have security. We have our own security team called the Avalon Village Peace Team. And so in my mind, I'm thinking all the things that a city would need, I'm just going to do it in a smaller version on the block. And so everything is covered. We have a public works department here called the AV Works Department. We have our own summer youth program that comes in. We have our home, like I said, the Homework House, which is a homeschool hub too. And it's a space for people that want to homeschool their children. We have the athletics that we're building. We have our basketball court and other things. The Goddess Marketplace. We pop up every weekend. It's a big marketplace on Saturdays. The Ellen Show, we got a house from her when we were on the show back in 2016, and we use it as a village hall. Also, Ben, what I did too is that I knew that I wanted to build a village, and so I'm the person that I'll sign up for some workshops or classes, whatever it takes to make me stronger in those areas. And so I was also a housing commission, the vice president of a housing commission here in Highland Park. I also was on the charter commission. I was the chairperson. So basically we revised our city charter 3 years. We were commissioned to do that. I was also a police officer for 6 years. I was the Board of Education president, all of those kind of things. So those are some of the things that...
That's an awful lot of things, Mama Shu.
Yeah. And so I did those. And so I'm done with those things now. And so I'm like, okay. So I'm just sitting back looking at things in that way and then saying, well, you know what? I'm just going to do it with my own little twist to
it. How did people sort of respond to you when at the beginning you said, this is what I'm going to go out to do? Did they all support you, or did some of them think that you were just shooting above the stars?
Yeah, I did have some supporters. I had a few supporters, and then a lot of them thought that I was crazy. So right now, like, I'm the crazy lady that was sitting on the porch. I had beautiful chimes hanging around, smoke coming from my porch and everything. I mean, that's just the visual of it. So people probably was wondering. And then some of the activities that we do here, they're like, wow, what is that? It's just different things and everything. So yeah, so I was, but now it's different. Now, I guess they probably still think that maybe I'm crazy, but not as crazy. It's still, because I guess to do something like this, sometimes it feels like it. Because sometimes I'm sitting on the porch, I'm like, oh my God, what the heck did I do? Like, it's this part and that part. It's just this whole big thing now that, I mean, I knew that it was going to be, but you just never know how it's going to be. And it's just a lot of fun right now. Just like, wow, like this really happened for real. Here it is, shoot. But yeah, they usually, but now I have folks that support my work and actually want to know how I did it, and the way that I did it. A lot of people think that you have to have this whole big chunk of money. And I'm like, okay, well, I didn't have any of that. I didn't have no, people think that you need this big time funding to do that, but it was the journey of everything for me. And so you learn. And then what happens is, to me, the money comes later. You got to do this thing, you got to do it in a way, and you got to stay focused and be committed and all of that. And then see what it stands on first.
How would you then encourage, if someone was listening and they're living in a community and they want to really build it up, they want to bring it back, what would your advice be to them? How can they set out? What is that first step you have to take?
Okay, so the first step that I would tell them is that, first of all, you don't need the money or whatever to build what it is that you want in your, whatever it is that you want. You need to have the passion, and it has to be able to manifest it inside of your heart. It's something that is there that burns, that you actually have to do first. Because if you got the money and you don't have that part right there, that's not gonna, go. So I would say that don't worry about the money. Don't worry about having enough to do this and that. Do it in a small way and make it build up. It was a big elephant for me, and I sold fish sandwiches to buy land. I said, I'm going to do this. I use my work check. You got to store, hey, you may have to front some of the stock and the supplies or whatever on your own until you get there. And then a second thing I tell them too is that to not waste a lot of time on, when you have a plan A, stick with your plan A. Don't waste time on a plan B, because plan B energy, to me, takes away from plan A energy. You're sitting worrying, well, what if? But what if you pull it off? What if this really works? And so you stay on that. Now, you may have different amendments and little updates and changes, and may have to lay off a minute, but you stay on that thing that you say that you want to stay on and do it. And then the last thing is have no fear. Absolutely have no fear about what it is that you want to do. If it's righteous, if it's good for the people, if it's going to make everybody comfortable, it's going to make you comfortable, and your heart sing, then you have no fear about it. You just got to go and do your thing.
How do you teach people to have no fear? Because you said at the beginning that you're amazing, and you've managed to find out that you don't have that fear. Not afraid if things don't go well, or you're going to keep going. But I have to say that many people today, they are afraid if things don't go badly. It prevents them from doing things. And so how could you help people try and get rid of that fear?
I would just tell them to think the exact opposite. What would happen, and what if it was really beautiful? Start saying some of those things instead of saying the things that block you and the things that you are fearful about. What if the wonderfulness comes out of it? We always go straight to the whole negative piece about it. But what if it's a good thing? Start affirming those things. Sometimes you have to do that, and sometimes you have to do it to where sometimes people may still think that you crazy. Like, dang, she crazy. She still thinks. You got to chant that stuff to yourself, because sometimes you may get, a little, woozy about it yourself and second guessing and everything. But yeah, I would say, what are the beautiful things that will come out of it? It's just a way that you got to look at things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the way that you look at things, because the negative stuff can be some stuff that's pointing out some stuff that's going to be useful for you to use as well, But yeah, start talking about the beautiful things first. Like, okay, because that other stuff is going to come for sure.
Hey, something that amazed me was that the streetlights were taken down. They were because they hadn't been paid for, and like someone came into the area and just took all the streetlights down.
Yes. So what happened is that in 2011, our city, unfortunately, could not pay the electric bill. So the administration at the time made the choice they were going to cut all the lights out, but made a deal with them that they can take out certain poles in certain areas so that we can afford the monthly payment that they were putting on us for our electric bill. And and that's what happened. And so they took out about 1,200 poles, I think.
It just seems crazy to me that someone would take away, it's something that is part of your daily life, and that because they haven't done their budgets, they're just going to take away all the streetlights.
Yes, that's what they did. They actually came, and when I say that, literally, they came. The energy company came. They picked up. They took them off, and now we just have these cement stumps that are left. And they came and they just came and took the poles away from them. So it was a truckload of poles, and they took them off the residential area. And so what we did is that we did a fundraiser in 2020 and 2020 and 2021. We were able to install 5 solar street lights with Wi-Fi capabilities. Also, we collaborated with Solidarity, who is committed to relighting Highland Park after the lights were repossessed. And so that is what we're working on. Actually, our very first residential solar street light was put up by Solidarity back in 2014. And now we have 6 altogether, and we have them on the property that we own.
And I know also that in the area, you now remember your kids as well. And you said their birthdays. So you bring the whole area alive as well.
Oh, yeah. So as a matter of fact, let me see whose birthday. Okay, Jacoby's birthday is coming up now. Jacoby's birthday is August the 17th. And his birthday is the same day as Marcus Garvey's birthday. And we celebrate and we teach people who Marcus Garvey was. And we have reggae bands and Caribbean food and everything, vendors. So it's a festival. And it's called the Reggae in the Hood Festival. We do those festivals every year, August the 17th. People know they're going to come on the block and have a party. And it's Jacoby's birthday. I've done it for 13 years in a row. So this is the 13th one that we're doing. Chinyelu's birth date is 4/11. And so we do something called the 4/11 bonfire. That's basically our very first spring. Hi, how you doing? Our very first spring fling that we bust out in the spring. And so we have the block is cut off, and a lot of folks that come are his friends and stuff too. Well, he would have been 27 this year. So a lot of them, they still come to his parties and everything. And so we do certain things on it. And when I say we have a full house barbecue and food, everything. And then Chinyelu got killed on 1/26/21. We do something called a no faking fundraiser. It's because my son used to always say no faking. That was just his word. So we do a no faking fundraiser in which we encourage a lot of the community to come in. It's in memory of Chin and everything, but it's also a big party. We have a DJ, and they also make a donation. And we also provide refreshments and everything too. And so that's a way they help to actually get money for the bleachers for that we're getting. So we've been accumulating money. So we have these fundraisers for different things for the village. So Chin's fundraiser, his Ancestor Day is what we call it. We do a fundraiser, and then for Reggae in the Hood, it's a fundraiser also for the village. So keeping them as ancestors alive, their energies alive, showing different. We have the different shrines and different things dedicated to my boys here, and I even have my bonus son, my stepson. His name is Peely. We created a shrine for him too. He was murdered in 2015. His funeral and everything, his memorial service was the very first one that I ever did as a minister. Not the first one that I did as a minister, but the very first one that I did in the village. His mom and his dad wanted to have his funeral among family and just a beautiful atmosphere, and so they wanted to bring it. So that was the very first one. So his spot is called Peely's Place, and then the basketball court is named after all of them. It's called My Three Sons Basketball Court. So I was able to get a grant, and so now we're getting the bleachers delivered in about 4 weeks, and then new fencing around it. I had gotten a grant to put new fencing, so I'm really excited for all of that work to start. So that'll be done before summer's out.
More of our conversation right after this. But Mama Shu, it comes back to, 2 of your children have been killed. Your stepson has been killed. And you must feel some sort of negativity about society, or understand that something is broken that needs to be fixed. And I don't see that speaking to you. You seem so full of such positivity. But there must be part of you that just feels that something is broken.
Yes, it is. It is. And I'm going to tell you something. After when Chin got killed, even though it was very, it was fleeting, I'm like, you know what? I'm done over here. You know what I'm saying? For real. I'm done over here. I got a little frustrated. And in the moment of it, like, man, all of this, I mean, like, this is like really blood, sweat, and tears, literally. Like, these boys, is dying on the streets. Like, literally, it like really happened, And so I'll say that was one of the only times that I was, and then being when I thought about it, it was like, not like I'm just getting ready to pack up or whatever. It was just one of those moments and stuff. I was like, damn. Like, when my other son got killed, I was like, you know what? Like, enough is enough, for real. Like, it was just frustrating. And one of the things that I don't talk about a lot, so I'm going to talk about it right now, is that when Jacoby got killed all those years, and then Chien got killed just 3 years ago, after all, it was a whole gap. I was really, I was hurt, like, I don't know what, and I was just really mad, like, oh my God. Now I gotta go. It's almost like going back to square one with the grief, with Chinye. And I was with him the longest, and he was like my road dog. I mean, like, we were up in this village. My daughters, they were living in Georgia. They had made their homes in Georgia and everything. Now they're back here living with me. Now we all live in the village. But yeah, that right there made me, I was kind of like a little pissed or whatever. I ain't even gonna lie. Like, God, please, it's like, starting all over again with the initial feelings of grief and going through it. And I knew I was just familiar with it all. And I just didn't want to be familiar with it again. And it happened again. And to me, that was just one of the craziest, just bizarre is what I thought it was. I did, not like both of them at the same time because of a tragic accident or whatever. It's like I was able to have this time, and then I'm grieving, and then boom, and here's another fresh thing to grieve about. And I didn't really like that. So it hasn't been.
How does that play into sort of your spirituality? I mean, I know you've been a minister, and you must obviously ask yourself the question, ask God why this could happen again and again.
Well, what I understand it to be is that my children and all of us, the way that I understand it, we have our own journeys and we have our own ways of being here on this planet and living it out. And I think that my son Jacoby's journey was 2 years, 1 month, and 6 days old. I think that my Chinyelu, he was here to be 23 years in this life, and that they never really belonged to me. You know what I'm saying? I was just stewards over them to help them on this planet, and they came to me for certain things, and those things to me were fulfilled. And that's it. It was just basically time to go. That's what I feel. I felt that they have their own flow and their own journey, their own spiritual journey, and they tapped down here, and here it is. And so I understand that. And I think that they came to me to be their mother. And so I did my part in everything. And now they're on to something else, bigger, better, whatever it is out there in that spiritual world. So they're back to the spiritual world now. And they're doing their thing wherever else they're doing their thing. That's how I understand things. I just believe that the energy doesn't die. And so that is why I'm able to still connect with the boys. I always know when it's being certain things that they got their hands on in, because I know the nature of them, So I know when some like, oh, okay, then this you, Chin, I know when, oh, okay, Jacoby, it's you. I know their hands, and then I feel protected as well, more protection. So it's really like having some ambassadors in the heavens, so to speak. You got some extra juice. That's what I got, being I got extra juice.
I believe that. Well, using that extra juice, Mama Shu, what are you going to do with it next? What's the next step for Avalon Village?
Shoot. Thanks for asking. Look. So one of the best, one of the things that we're doing now is we're going to expand as it relates to practically doing some things. We're going to expand the Goddess Marketplace. I have drawings and renderings already, so that'll go in another piece of land that we own right across the street from the main house, this house that I'm sitting at. It'll be right across the street. And then also the low-hanging fruit type stuff. We're putting up, getting the bleachers, and we're getting the fencing. But also I'm going, and we're going to start delving off into, we already have, but building housing for the second and the third block. Really what I want to do, my ultimate goal is to rehab and improve all 4 blocks of Avalon Street, which this block being the downtown. So as all of the action, parties, stores, all of that kind of stuff, the healing center, homework house, all of that. But the other ones have a garden where they can grow their own food, like a garden that's dedicated to each one of those blocks, and also a family/playground area for each of the next 2 blocks as well. So anybody could come down here and enjoy whatever we have, but guess what? They can go ahead and barbecue. We can have a space down there for them on their block and also grow their own food too, and then connect that way and find people to do the food security and all of that on the other blocks. So that's what I'm working on now.
And is that just really about fundraising? It's about trying to get people to donate as well? Can they do that? How can people listening help?
They can do that. They can do that with those big projects. They can, if anybody is out there, really any that wants to support, we need a few million. We need a few million. Come see what we've done thus far, so I can go ahead and do more. They can go to the website. They can donate on the website at www.theavalonvillage.org. That's www.theavalonvillage.org. You can do one-time donations. You can pull something off the wish list if you like. Heck, you can bring some supplies and some snacks from Costco for the kids for the homework house and set them on the porch. Our giving, it don't matter whether it's $10 or if it's 10,000. We appreciate all of it because people have different levels of giving. But I really would like to, start hitting the $1 million donation so I can really set this block off.
Well, look, you've done amazing things so far, and you really are. I think, you symbolize from grief to glory. And I wonder if we could just finish up, if you wanted to just send one message to people who are listening, people who may have gone through something difficult themselves, what you would say to them to lift them up, to go out and do great things like you've done.
I would say to keep it moving, do something that you really, really love and just do it real, real hard. And also to create something wonderful in your loved one's name. A lot of times people don't, they're afraid or they're too grief-filled, but that right there, you find peace and you find love and you find healing in just creating a small garden, or you do something in their name, or you start a foundation, or whatever it is, just something very small. It doesn't have to be anything big, so that right there, they're not gone. They would forever. And use those ancestors and use those ones that have left as a strength. Okay? That's what you need. Use them as strength and pull from their strength. Yeah.
Well, Mama Shu, hey, thank you so much for speaking with us today. You've done incredible things out there, and I know you're going to keep doing amazing things to come as well.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you for having me, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace and love.
Yeah, what a pleasure. Take care.
All right.
Well, I think of all the people that I have spoken to, I don't think I've met anyone full of such pure positivity after such tragedy. I mean, and listening to her and watching her, she is someone who very consciously took her grief and turned it round into glory. She uses that phrase herself all the time. And I just think that's such an incredible message that I hope more people can embrace. And it doesn't just have to be for the tragic things, like as she has done, the death of really 3 of her children, can be for anything that happens to you in life. It's that ability to say, let's look at what we can find something positive out of this. Let's see how we can take it and use it for the good of the community. It's a difficult thing to do, but she's done it. And I remember speaking to another guest who had lost his 2 children. And I remember him saying as well that one of the things that he had to do was try and do something in their name. That's the best way to remember people, to keep their memories alive, is to do something in their name. Well, she's certainly done this. And if you look at pictures of Avalon Village that she has built, it is incredible. You see pictures from 20 years ago and you see pictures of it today, and she has created an incredible community of people helping jobs, helping families, helping education. And so, that's what we need. It reminds me that there are incredible strength in America, and she's one of those incredibly strong people. So, look, if you can, reach out, look up Avalon Village, and I know she'd appreciate any donations that she can get. So thanks very much for listening today, and we'll speak to you next week. Thanks for listening to Searching for Heroes. Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app.